On today's homemade edition of Showcase, we look at music legends Jimi Hendrix and Bob Marley. Reggae pioneer Bob Marley died around this time of the year in 1981. To take a deep dive into his legacy, we're now going to talk to Vivien Goldman, author of the Book of Exodus. Hi Vivien, good to see you.
Oh, it's fantastic to see you, Elif, and I'm thrilled to be speaking from Jamaica to Turkey.
It's lovely. It's really meaningful that you're there. So, let's just talk about how Bob Marley got much more popularized during the coronavirus quarantine all around the world. I mean, one report says that his music has been downloaded 27 more times than usual. Why do you think this is happening?
When people phoned me and told me, I got a bit weepy because so much of my work had been tied up with him. He was such a mentor to me. And I knew he would have been thrilled because he was so serious about his music in a way, it wasn't, people sometimes don't understand when I say it wasn't only about making money, right? Because it's so unusual nowadays. But of course he did want to make money, but they so much wanted to send a healing message of unity that was not, it sort of ran on two tracks because it was as if it was Pan-African, obviously, uniting the African diaspora, but at the same time, it was for all humans to come together, and he always, no matter how clearly he viewed the terrible things that people do to each other, in his music, he always stayed hopeful. And I think that is why people turn to him so much for uplift, because he took the higher view and the long view. And in his music, he encourages us to be stronger. That's a very big part of it. I've been listening to his music a lot lately, and he's always encouraging us. Yes, you're going to have situations, they may even be terrible, but keep strong and keep going. And as he says in one of his songs, just take one step more. And I think that is why people are listening to him now more than ever.
Yeah, the message is definitely crucial that Bob Marley was trying to send, but also I think he wanted to make a music so simple that even children would be able to understand what he was singing about, I guess. So do you feel like that's also part of it?
That was absolutely, literally his aesthetic. He said that to me, and I was lucky enough to be with him many times when he was working out songs. And you could always hear him refining the melody until it just sort of had that air about it that when you hear it, as he says, it's natural mystic, it's kind of normal, it just fits. Yes, there's a recognition when you hear his tunes. And mothers often say that they use Bob Marley to get their kids to sleep, He's known to have a relaxing quality even while he's preaching revolution.
Yeah, and I mean, you knew him closely and you worked on his music as well. So if he was alive today, what would Bob Marley have made out of coronavirus crisis at the moment? What songs would he be writing, for example?
Oh, that's such a great question. If I was as great an artist as Bob Marley, I could slip you a few song titles, but I'm not. All I can say is, we work with what we've got, the incredible canon of music that he left us. And I'm sure he would be inspired to write something so lyrical and deep and yet encouraging. I wish we could hear it, but right now we're lucky we've got what we have.
I know, definitely. I mean, I've been listening to Bob Marley all morning as well. So I just said that you were really close and you're in Jamaica at the moment. So I assumed that it would be linked. So can you tell us how you met him and your story with him?
It's just so weird. If there's any young people listening out there, watch out, because this is what can happen. The job I got and the place I so-called accidentally wound up living, which was a West Indian neighborhood that had lots of reggae dances, and the job I got working for 7 months with Bob Marley as his publicist when he was little known on the, in the wider community. That set the course of my life. So be careful what you do when you're young. I was lucky, and it meant that, I was already working here in Jamaica when the coronavirus hit. Otherwise, my home is in Queens, New York, one of the hardest hit areas in the country. So I'm blessed in a way to be here. My thoughts are still with Queens.
So, it just made me think of one thing. I think when you look at Bob Marley's story, the question that comes to mind is that he was definitely a spokesman for millions of Black people. And he never lost his credibility, and he never compromised his credibility in that regard. But then he was cherished by the powerful. I mean, he had a lot of white following. So I wonder how he sort of balanced that out. What do you think his trick was in that sense?
You're raising such enormous points rather brilliantly, because you've got to remember that, that was his following. His following became ginormous, and it was a little sort of weird for him sometimes that it was so largely white, like he wasn't accepted by Black America to the same extent as he was embraced by like the hippies and so on, and the lefties, and but he himself was mixed, so that caused quite a lot of conflict for him, that he was mixed and didn't really know his father. But it seemed like his work was to heal all those, what for him were traumas, frankly. That Rasta helped him heal. Like he said to me, I know my father, Jah is my father. So, it was all a process of working through, because he was a mixed kid in the ghetto. And that was a very rare thing when he was coming up, and he got rejected by his white family, and often, teased by his Black family, as it were. So take that to heart, everybody. You can use it for your art the way Bob did, and use any pain to try and help heal the world the way he did.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that his mixed inheritance sort of gave him a unique perspective. That's why I just want to ask this to you. Do you feel like he was understood in that sense? I mean, I think his message was just so complex on, a lot of levels. So do you feel like Bob Marley is understood today in the world?
Yes. People really sort of were getting to know him. In the latter part, when the Legend album was put out, in the latter part of his sort of career, when the Legend compilation was put out, that was the start of trying to position Marley as more cuddly, less revolutionary. He was a sexy revolutionary, but more sexy, less revolutionary. It was a sort of marketing thing. It worked brilliantly. But I have a sense that right now, as he used to say, slave driver, the tables are turning. Something is tipping, and people are turning to Bob not just for the feel-good One Love songs, but also for the richness of, his palette, the richness of his emotional and musical palette, and the way he can, unflinchingly really stare at evil and yet not give up hope. That's a miracle. And that, I think, in a way, is really his gift to us. No matter how tough times are, Bob still had hope, and we're going to have hope.
Okay, so, I mean, he was definitely a revolutionary, but then when you look at his representation in popular culture today, do you feel like he's sometimes exploited? His revolutionary stardom is exploited, is just, in a way that he's just seen as a weed smoker, and his revolutionary ideals are sort of curbed.
Well, very, very much so. Very much so. That's what I was trying to say with the Legend compilation after his passing, that really focused on the love sort of songs. They were trying to push his revolutionary aspect more into the background for commercial sales. It worked brilliantly, but the feeling that I'm having is that at this stressful moment, why people are listening to Bob so much is because of his combination, that they're maybe only discovering now, of being a revolutionary and genuinely a lover, And now I think people are turning to him also, not to just be cheered up or made to feel more mellow, the way often people associate with Bob Marley, as if they were, those fake crochet hats of fake dreadlocks, those crocheted hats with fake dreadlocks attached. That's not the story, not at all. And now there's people are gravitating to this richness and this rounded understanding of human life, that you can't have revolution without love, and you can't have love without revolution, and you can't have revolution without hope. And, the enemy is despair, and that's so much his message. And it's all bundled into one in a fabulously human way.
I really hope that he can light our way in where we're headed for the future. Thank you so much. This was all the time we had, but it was great talking to you, Vivien Goldman.
It was fabulous talking to you, Liv, and I hope we get to talk some more. And
yes, hopefully.
Stay safe, everybody, and stay strong.
Yes,
one love.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great seeing you. Thank you. This month marks the release of one of the most revolutionary albums in music history. Game-changing guitar techniques, innovative songwriting, and a unique combination of various music genres, rock was never the same after the Jimi Hendrix Experience released their debut album Are You Experienced on May the 12th, 1967. The LP was an immediate critical and commercial success, selling more than 1 million copies in its first 7 months. Some of the best-known hits from the album are Purple Haze, Foxy Lady and Hey Joe. To talk more about Are You Experienced, I have Greg Tate. He is a critic and a writer. Hi, Greg. So, the album is seen as one of the most influential debut albums of all times. But then I just want to talk about the time when it came out. Was it expected back in the day? What was the atmosphere like?
Well, Jimmy hit London kind of right as they were going from a serious blues fixation to psychedelia. So Sgt. Pepper by the Beatles had come out. So there was this real attempt to kind of take rock in this mind-expanding direction. But Hendrix just exploded the possibilities. He just sonically was such a game changer, such a trailblazer. Nobody ever heard anything like that before.
But then the Jimi Hendrix Experience they had just been together for a few weeks when the album came out.
Yeah, but Jimmy had so many clear ideas about what he wanted to do in music. He had been thinking about this stuff for years. And London gave him the technology to really do it. Yeah, especially working with Eddie Kramer, his sound engineer, who was, like Jimmy, young, full of fire ideas. Anything that Jimmy heard in his head, he figured out a way to do it with Tate. Yeah.
We're now talking about how important it was, and it has been, and it still is. But then, I think back in the day, it also got bad reviews as well, right?
No, it was critically acclaimed from the beginning, from what I know. I'm sure there's always conservatives, who can't quite figure out what to make of something that's that multidimensional and innovative, and black, But his career took off, from there, in a really powerful way. He was on tour constantly with the Experience for the next few years. Yeah.
So yeah, but for example, his lyrics, I think, for example, I have this little quote from the Rolling Stone. His lyrics were found, I mean, I think that they were pointing out to the inanity of his lyrics. Do you agree that his lyrics weren't as strong as his musicality?
Well, he had some great catchphrases in there. Excuse me, while I kiss the sky. But I mean, a lot of those songs. I mean, he wrote probably like 6 months to a week before they recorded them. You know what I mean? So, and then when you get to the second album, I mean, the lyrics get stronger. You know, I mean, he's a real, he's a work in progress. But he loved Dylan. You know what I mean? So that was his guiding light in terms of lyrics.
I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned something. You said that he was black, and obviously he was black, and that was not that was sort of challenging for him in the beginning. I wonder how black do you think his music and this album was really seen back in the day?
Well, I know all his records, even though they weren't promoted to black audiences, they sold really well out of black record stores. So, I mean, the whole notion of what is black, in music is always like is always kind of a shifting paradigm. You know what I mean? But he came out of the Isley Brothers and Wilson Pickett R&B. Played with all those people, Ike and Tina Turner. But he was also influenced by jazz and electronic music. So he was a real musical adventurer, musical explorer. Yeah.
Was he like cherished by the black community back then? For example, was his songs playing on black radios?
No, not at all. You know what I mean? But there was some like pop radio was scared of him too. You know what I mean? Um, but he did so well in concert. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Anybody that saw him was just mesmerized, blown away. Because I mean, he was just such a great performer. Um, I mean, he commanded the stage, and he just did things with his body, with the guitar, nobody had ever seen before. Yeah.
I mean, how did black people view him back then? I just want to get a clear picture of how the black community related to his music back in the day when the album came out.
And there was a kind of what people call like a black hippie audience that was starting to emerge, like a black counterculture audience. You know what I mean? The Black Panthers were really into Bob Dylan, like he was too. So I'm sure they were into Hendrix as well. You know what I mean? So, he wasn't part of the kind of black R&B mainstream radio situation. But I mean, anybody who's that innovative and that distinct and kind of that alien for folks, it's going to take a while for everybody to catch up.
Okay, so
Yeah.
going back to Are You Experienced, do you think that it was his best album?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty much agreed that his masterpiece is Electric Ladyland. But when I was listening to it again, I mean, it's just so solid. You know what I mean? Just instrumentally and vocally. I mean, just the recording of it. You know what I mean? It still sounds like it could have come out yesterday. You know what I mean? Because he's just doing things. You know, other guitar players still haven't even caught up to him. I mean, just his prowess as an improviser, as a blues player, and then somebody that just has this array of just kind of mind bending psychedelic sound going on. And then his drummer, Mitch Mitchell, too, was also a difference maker because he was very much influenced by Elvin Jones, who played with John Coltrane. So nobody had even heard that kind of combination going on with like really loud, aggressive, lyrical guitar playing, and then this polyrhythmic drumming that was coming out of like avant-garde jazz. So yeah.
And I mean, he also influenced a lot of people, a new generation of guitarists to come, like Carlos Santana, Lenny Kravitz, and all that. But you said that no one was able to catch up.
No, I mean, there's only a few guitar players that, who really were operating, on his level. I mean, Eddie Hazel, who played with Parliament Funkadelic, is somebody I definitely put in that realm, that category. But Hendrix just did so much. You know what I mean? Like if you listen to Are You Experienced, every song sounds like it could be like a different band. You know what I mean? Just his creativity, was on such a high level. So so nobody really has like kind of the breadth and the sweep that he had. I mean, he was, he's a major American composer. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't just a rock and roll songwriter. You know what I mean? Like you go to Electric Ladyland and he's got like 14, 15-minute pieces that are just electronic sounds that just are floating and put you in this whole aquatic realm. You know what I mean? So he was thinking in an ambient way about music. He was thinking about painting pictures with sound, painting sounds, creating soundscapes, so all of
so would it still be as exciting if the album came out today, for example, Are You Experienced?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I mean, it sounds like it could have come out like yesterday, today, or tomorrow. Like it doesn't sound like a period piece. It doesn't sound dated at all. Because it's just so audacious, and striking. Just really singular, original. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, we're sort of running out of time, but I just want to ask you one quick question. So Purple Haze isn't really about an acid trip, is it?
No, I mean, he said it was actually inspired by reading a science fiction novel by a guy named Philip Jose Farmer that was about some aliens that created some purple haze, and he just kind of took off from there. I mean, apparently, like the original lyrics go on for like about 10 pages, and he kind of boiled it down to whatever the 3 or 4 minutes that the song is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, good to know that, Greg Tate. It was good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thank you. Take care, guys.
We might not be able to go to the museums right now, but that doesn't mean we're not surrounded by art. Just ask these two brothers from Brazil.
The furniture created by Humberto and Fernando Campana are playful, organic and dystopian. The Brazilian designers have been in the business for more than 3 decades, and this exhibition at Rio's Modern Art Museum is a celebration of their glamorous designs that merge pop culture with craftsmanship and social awareness.
Theatricality is fundamental to our work.
We are storytellers. These are records we find along the way, photographs we take with our stomach, experiences that attain us, good fun experiences, but sometimes sad.
Their eclectic designs include this sofa that goes by the name Sushi, and the meteor chair that's meant to look like a rock fallen from outer space. As for this one, it depicts Earth's out-of-control population growth.
Through their work, they make very important criticisms of the socio-economic situation of the country, and I think that's related to everything that happens in the museum, a space for vanguard that is critical of our society.
And it all started in 1983, when the two brothers decided to team up and make furniture with ordinary materials such as cardboard, ropes and plastic tubes. But what made them stand out was their approach of ditching perfection and highlighting imperfections in their designs. They went on to collaborate with companies such as Louis Vuitton and became the first Brazilian artists to exhibit their work at New York's Museum of Modern Art.
I think Fernando and I, since the beginning, we didn't want to follow the rules of modernism. Why does it have to come from abroad, dictated by Bauhaus? Why not look at Brazil in a different manner? We have great riches of culture, geography, various biomes and races. Why not explore that?
And their goal for the future is to offer the Campana style to local communities by teaching them about responsible use of materials, as well as helping them start their own businesses to tell their own stories. As for the Campana brothers, their story is far from ending.
Well, that's all for this homemade edition of Showcase. Remember to check us out on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Elif Bereketli. Don't forget to wash your hands.